I'm not really putting an agenda on someone I'm trying to raise capital from on, hey, come do this thing with me because I want something from you. It's, I was in your shoes. Let me show you what I've done to be successful at having true passive income, and let me help you.
Welcome to Multifamily Insights. I'm your host, John Casman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. If you are enjoying the show and get some great value for your investing needs, let us hear about it. That's right. Leave us that rating and review. It helps us and helps other people find the show. Now, if you are an avid listener, do that. But if this is your first time listening, or for whatever reason you just haven't done it yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button or follow button so you don't miss an episode. Now, today we're going to be talking to Jill Jensen. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to grow as a multifamily investor, you have to spend more time with other multifamily investors. And an easy way to do that is to join our apartment investing mastermind group today. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the mastermind button. Now, as a part of this group, you'll get access to expert trainings, group coaching calls, industry news and updates, as well as all of our webinars and workshops, including our 3-hour workshop on raising capital. Again, if you want to be around other multifamily investors that can help you scale your portfolio today and grow your network, make sure you're a part of the Apartment Investing Mastermind. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the Mastermind button today. Jill Jensen has been a real estate investor who in 2022 skipped single-family homes and jumped straight to multifamily properties and then focused on mobile home parks. Now, her entrepreneurial journey began with impressive door-to-door sales, earning 6 figures in one summer, leading her to start a nationwide pest control company. Now, Jill is the chief investment officer at Sonos Capital, raising capital to invest in large mobile home parks. Let's welcome to the show, Jill Jensen.
John, thanks for letting me come on your show. I'm excited to be here today.
Absolutely, Jill. It's great to have you on. I went over your bio at a very high level. Why don't you take 2 minutes and fill in some of those gaps?
Okay, this is awesome. I'm excited to be here. And you mentioned, I started in the door-to-door realm. So my sales skills, I like to refer to them as communication skills, started in my 20s. And this led to building teams, building a multi-million dollar company and a business. And I got bought out of that company, stepped away from pest control, and now taking the same concept and applying that to real estate. And I stumbled across a group of people that were doing mobile home parks. So I invested that route, put my own money in funds for apartment complexes, and then had this opportunity at Sonos Capital to be their investor relations and the chief investment officer. So now I get to do my favorite thing and connect with people all day, raising capital for large mobile home parks and help just your average person be able to invest in real estate.
I love it. So you started door-to-door sales with the pest control company. You got bought out of that, wanted to get into real estate, started investing passively, it sounds like, and then had an opportunity to join the Sonos Capital team. Talk about that transition, right? You go from doing the door-to-door, you get bought out. What were you thinking at that time? Like, what was the next step? What were you looking for? Like, how did you approach that?
John, this was like a dramatic shift because out of high school, only W-2 job I had was in high school. So stepping right into the entrepreneur world, that's just all I know. And going from a solo door-to-door rep, building this company with nationwide hundreds of sales reps. And when I got bought out of that company, it was like starting from ground zero. Yes, I have plenty of money and I had an issue. And my problem was, okay, I have money and I need that money making me money. What do all wealthy people have in common? Real estate. How do I do that? I don't know, but I'm going to go figure it out. So it's almost like throwing spaghetti on the wall, trying to figure out who and how I'm going to get my foot in the door. And I became the top sales rep at the first company I was at. And it was really simple. I just found the top sales rep and I asked him all of the right questions. What do you say? This was before cameras were on cell phones. So I had my own little camera and I filmed him. I'm like, what do you say? What do you do? What do you wear? How do you knock a neighborhood? I moved out of state. How do I pick a neighborhood? How do I knock a door? What do I say? What do I wear? What's my tone of voice? Like, how do I present myself? Like, I was taught that the front porch was my stage and I got to like present myself. And so getting in real estate, I was like, it's the same thing. I just got to find the top person at what it is I want to do, go ask them all of the right questions, and then ask them, how can I serve you, to basically hold their coattail? Not what's in it for me, but hey, this is going to be like, my college degree. So then I was just kind of on the hunt of finding who's good at what I want to do.
I love that insight. You said you really looked at how you were able to succeed in the sales world where you found the top salesperson and just asked them a bunch of questions, right? Filmed it, documented it, made sure that you took those practices and put them into play. But that was exactly how you scaled to become the number one sales rep in your firm. You took that same concept into real estate, find the top people, ask them the right questions, and then figure out how to add value. I mean, that's a great insight because I mean, it just drills down to finding a mentor, right? Find that
Yep.
mentor, find that person who can guide you along the path. They've already been through it. They've already had the success. They probably already tried and failed some of the stuff you're thinking about trying. So go directly to them and they're going to give you the blueprint to help you succeed. And that's why having a mentor is so important, particularly as a real estate investor. So you were able to do that. You said something right at the end that I think was really important. How do you add value to that person, right? You're going to ride their coattails, but you need to add value and serve those individuals. For that, for when you're doing that in the sales world, what was that value you were providing back? Because I think this is where so many people miss it, right? They think, oh, I'm just going to go find somebody and ask them a million questions and not give them any value in exchange. So talk to me about how you're able to add value to the other person.
Okay, great. I'm going to shift it in regards to when I was trying to sell someone. And I trained hundreds of sales reps. And so many times they're like, I'm not getting sales. I'm not making any money. What's wrong with me? And I'm like, well, you're focused too much on yourself. If you could just start serving the people you're trying to sell to or communicate, the sales will follow. How are you helping your team? How are you helping other sales reps? And how are you going to serve that person? So transitioning into real estate and as a capital raiser myself, it's the same thing. I'm not really putting an agenda on someone I'm trying to raise capital from on, hey, come do this thing with me because I want something from you. It's, I was in your shoes and I had hundreds of thousands of dollars not doing a whole lot for me. Let me show you what I've done to be successful at having true passive income. And let me help you. If this is a good fit, this is how I'm doing it. No pressure. I'm just here to serve or help you. And that's how I'm helping those that are my LPs, where the person that I took this position from, his name's Walter Johnson, and he owns Sonos Capital. And it's really a funny story how we came in contact with one another. And I had told him it says online like your occupation, and his says real estate investor. So I sent him a message and I'm like, hey, tell me about your real estate investing. And he's like, oh, I have a fund for mobile home parks. And I was like, oh, this is like, you know, one of those doors, because he has no idea that I own mobile home parks and my history is sales and communicating. And the main thing I wanted to focus on was capital raising. So come in contact with him, ask him, got to know him on a personal level, what's your business about? We kind of vetted one another. And before I asked him, what does my pay structure look like if I come on your team or if I take this position? I saw the vision and I saw what he was trying to do. Once again, I lived more by the book called Who, Not How. I'm going to figure out who knows already how to do it and then join their team. So I vetted him as a person, his process, his systems. And then he's like, hey, this is the first month you're here. Do you think you could raise around $500,000? And I was like, I hope so. Let's shoot for that. In my head, I was like, I'm going to raise $1 million, but I'm going to let him think that I might be capable of $500,000. So sure enough, I hit the $1 million mark. Now let's talk about how I'm going to be a part of the business because I wanted to show my value more so than what's in it for me.
Yeah, I love the way you shared that because one, it's about serving other people. In this case, you found Walter, you realized you could add value to him, but instead of trying to negotiate your compensation up front, you've vetted him as a person, you vetted the team, the processes, the systems, then decided to work together. Once you did that, you were able to prove out kind of your value. And then from there, you can actually align on what that working relationship and compensation package looks like moving forward. And again, it just goes to show like so many people are focused on themselves, what they get, how much money am I going to get, and their own compensation. So they miss out on opportunities where they could actually create something of great value if they were focused on serving other people. Let's talk a little bit more about mobile home parks, right? So you mentioned that your focus is investing in large mobile home parks. Many of our listeners are more familiar with multifamily investing. Talk to us about some of the pros and cons of investing in mobile home parks.
So, some of the pros, our approach to mobile home park buying is kind of like a fix and flip. We're okay taking a distressed property that's half occupied and needs a facelift. So I'm going to use numbers of a park that I'm closing on next week. It's 102 units and it's only 60% occupied. So 40%, we're going to bring on mobile homes and then we're going to sell all of the houses. We want to be collecting rent on 102 units at $550. So currently in place on the 60% that's occupied, he's only charging $390. And the market value is 500. The comps are up to 550. So our approach, it's currently cash flowing $184,000, and that's undervalue rent, only 60% occupied, and that's after all expenses. So once we fill the park, sell all of the homes and raise the rents, it'll cash flow over $320,000. And the reason I tell you this is because that's a pretty high number for having low maintenance, no tenants, no toilets, very little management, yet high cash value, high cash flow, and high returns for our investors. So our approach is you could put tenants in there, but we're going to kind of compare it to an apartment complex now. So if you take the average apartment, it's going to cost around $2,000 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house or apartment, I should say. And a modular home, you could rent a modular home for $800, or you could rent the pad for $500. Average person stays in an apartment for 2 years. After someone buys a modular home, the average person stays there for 14. So our business model is to sell all of the homes. Our average tenant will stay there 14 years. If you look at a house, average house in America costs around $400,000 right now, where average modular home around $50,000. So affordable housing is in a crisis and it is in need. So mobile home parks are also a high demand. So high demand, low turnover, low maintenance, yet still high cash flow, and a very, considering being an investor, a secure place to put your money.
I love that breakdown. You talked about really understanding, hey, some of the benefits of mobile home parks is one, you're gonna have low maintenance, right? You're not on the hook to go and fix, the water or whatever it is in that mobile park home. So you're just focused on the actual pad, renting out that pad, and your business plan is to go in, take occupancy from 60%, get it closer to 100%, and that's how you're going to make your money. You're going to sell the homes that the property already owns to those people who want to own it, and then they'll rent it. And I love the analogy or the example. On the apartment side, most people stay in an apartment around 2 years or so on average. On the mobile homes, once they buy that home, they're going to stay in for 14 years. So you got long-term tenants who are in there paying their rent, and they want to pay for that pad because they don't want to lose the home that's associated with it as well. So there's a lot of upside there. What are some things people would need to know, before making an investment in a mobile home park, particularly if they're coming from the apartment or the multifamily landscape?
That's a really good question, John. And the underwriting process can be a little tricky with a mobile home park. Your comps, you don't have one on every corner. So you can't look at like an apartment complex or another house. And a lot of mobile home parks were built in the 50s. And now the gentlemen that have held on to them are in their 70s and 80s now. My first two parks I purchased, he was 85, and the park I'm closing on next week, he's 84. So when you ask them for their books, a lot of times they hand you like a notebook and you have to go off taxes and bank statements. And that's not enough to really be able to underwrite a park. So you need to be able to drive into the park and measure every pad because that will determine the size of house that can fit on there. So if I'm 40% unoccupied and I'm going to be bringing in houses, you might get a bid, but then you go in there and realize I can't fit a double wide on this. My projections are very different. And so knowing also how much the amenities are going to cost. In a mobile home park, it's about creating the deal. So currently this park that I'm working on, we're going to be spending $425,000 on simply updating the amenities. So we bring in dog parks, pavilions, solar panel light posts, taking out junk, a new sign, anything that's going to update the amenities. And that helps three different things. One, it helps increase the land value, so the equity in the park. Two, it makes it easier to raise the rents on the 60 units that are currently there. We're showing them that we're bringing value to the park. And number three, we still need to sell 40 homes. So when a potential buyer comes in there, we want it to be very presentable and a very well-kept community on selling those homes. How do we know we're going to sell 40 homes though? We buy this park and it's like, oh yeah, I want to sell these houses, but what if they don't sell? How do you know that they're going to sell? So a few things that we look at are, you want to look at what's surrounding it. So government jobs, how many different type of schools are there, education, healthcare, hospital, big box stores. How far away is the Walmart is actually a big deal because Walmart does their own research on knowing how many people are in the area. My current park is 3 minutes from a Walmart. Okay, awesome. You also want to look at, the type of places people are renting. And we do test ads. So we'll put out ads and say mobile home for sale, and we want to see how many people are calling. So, okay, we got over a 6-week period of time. Let's say we got 20 people that would call asking, and how many people qualified? Well, we were having around 4 to 6 people that qualified. We also have in place a lender. So let's say not all 4 to 6 people will buy, but now we can give better projections to our partners on how long it's going to take to sell those homes. Roughly this many people are calling on a week. We have a lender. Someone qualifies, they go through our lender because our goal is to get someone in that house as quickly as possible so that we can be collecting rent on that pad. And we can get the homes at a discounted price. And because we truly do want to give back to the community, we sell the homes at cost because affordable housing is needed. And so that's helping us sell the house quickly and also provide an opportunity for someone to purchase a home at a discounted price, and we have more potential people that qualify.
Yeah, it comes down to value, right? So you're getting value on your end. You're able to pass that value along to the end user. and they're going to buy from you as opposed to someone else because they're getting a better price. You're also making improvements to that park, so it's going to be a better environment for them to live. I presume you don't go in and then buy all 40 right away. You probably stagger them out based on the demand. How, like, what does that time frame look like? Like, how long does it take to, once you buy and close, to kind of get that stabilized where you now have these 40 new homes on the park?
That's a really good question, John. We go through phases. So phase one, we start acquiring the park and immediately start updating the amenities. And as we're updating the amenities, we start bringing in the homes. The homes that we buy are from a factory and they take about 8 months to put together. We do buy some used ones and we just start bringing them in. And they also have to set them. And so it costs for someone to bring the house in and set it down. So over the next 3 years, we will have bought the homes and sold them all. And so that's what we base our projections off of. So when a partner comes in, we can show them exactly, okay, if you're going to invest, this is how much I'm raising. This is how I purchased the park. This is the phases of how we're going to acquire the houses, sell the homes, raise the rents. And at year 3, we also will refinance and pay back our partners around 70% of their investment, raise the rents for a couple more years. And then at year 5 is when we either sell the park or our partners get back all of their investment.
Yeah, and I think I like is that there's a very clear value at play. So multifamily investors understand this, but when you're investing and you're doing a value at play, you want to make sure that path is clear, right? It's logical that there's some proof that you can do it. In this case, you're talking about an asset where it's 60% occupied. The occupied units are about 150 to maybe up to $200 below market. So there's organic growth there, but you're going to invest in the community. You're going to make it better. You're going to add these amenities. You're going to add new signage, make it just a better place to be, while also bringing on these new mobile home units. And that's going to allow you to create some really good value. If you were talking to a passive investor, what's maybe one or two questions that they should be asking, but many don't ask or don't know to ask?
First, kind of like you already mentioned, how are you going to be creating value? And what is your exit strategy? Because as a private money lender myself, I always want to know, well, how secure is my deal? And what is my time frame on when I'm going to get my returns back so that I can kind of calculate if it's a good deal or fit for my investment needs.
It's a great question. Definitely want to understand that. And then I would imagine along those path or that path, understanding the risk, right? So what happens if you're not able to sell all 40 units or it takes longer than 3 years, right? So make sure you at least understand the risk and what the outcome looks like if that business plan skews a little to the left.
Yeah, I always say, ask what the worst case scenario is. And when I was started in real estate, it was smaller private money lending deals on fix and flip or small commercial properties. And something I lived by was loan to own. So if you're going to invest in, let's say, a single family house, are you willing to take on the project or the property if worst case scenario happens? And so looking at, like you said, the underlining things of what's secure. So one thing I did tell a woman a few weeks ago, she's like, okay, I'm putting in $100,000. What happens? I said, well, good news. It's been cash flowing since before I was born, and he's not doing anything with it. And it's only 60% occupied. Worst case scenario, we put it on the market because we actually got it off market on seller finance. We're already above what we've already invested. So considering the circumstances, it's a pretty secure way to invest.
No, I love it. I think it's really good for people to understand. If you want to learn more about this, you can go to sonoscapital.com or you can email Jill directly, Jill at sonoscapital.com. We'll link to both of those in our show notes. Jill, what is it about mobile home park investing that excites you as opposed to maybe some of the other commercial real estate asset classes?
I This is great because I love creating. And I have enough money that it could make me money, but it's like, okay, what can I create? And in my position, first, we're helping create value to the community, providing affordable housing. I'm able to help passive investors get high returns in a secure manner. And my position, I'm building a sales team, just like I did with my pest control, where I'm now hiring partners to raise capital with me. So it's the creation side of it and providing opportunities both in the community and with my partners.
I love that. And Joe, I know one thing that I always hear from investors in the mobile home space is that, governments don't tend to love mobile home parks, right? So you always face a little bit of resistance, if you will, when it comes to maybe some of the local municipalities. Can you just talk about maybe the experiences that you've seen or how you kind of navigate that landscape?
Yes, I had someone give me a hard time the other day being like, you're raising rents on people who are already in a hard situation. And I said, you're having a harder time than they are. They're grateful we didn't come in and push them all out to put up an apartment complex or townhouses. And it's interesting you say this because it's really hard to build a new mobile home park. I would love it if you could call a city and see if they'll let you, because they would rather have townhomes go up because it looks better in the town. They can also charge $4,000 in taxes on that house compared to $200 on a modular home. So when it comes down to aesthetics of the community, the city, the money, um, it makes a difference to the community. So being able to preserve the mobile home parks that are out there is really what Sonos Capital is trying to do.
No, I love that. I think you're spot on, right? It's interesting because so many folks will push affordable housing, but then you get into the affordable housing projects and no one actually wants it in their backyard, right? So you always have that little battle. But to your point, there's a lot of people who need affordable housing. It's more prevalent today than it's been in the last, 10, 15 years. So I think that there's going to be great opportunities for those folks who want to play in that space. Again, we'll link to Jill's contact information in the show notes, but right now we are going to transition to a round of insights. Jill, give me a failure or an apparent failure that set you up for later success.
A failure was not asking the best questions up front. But I also think that I should say not being, I was too timid to ask the hard questions up front because I felt like, oh, they know more than me. Even though in the beginning, I'm like, oh, ask all those questions, but still in the beginning, it's kind of hard. And not being afraid to do your first deal. I know the first deal is the hardest one. But once you get into real estate, you don't want to live with regrets of not doing something you wish you did.
Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
LinkedIn. There's a lot of connections with leveraging a lot of like-minded people in the same space as using LinkedIn.
Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
I've got 3. First, it's Who Not How. Finding the right people, not figuring out how to do it. I feel like I'm a really good delegator. Number 2 is 10x is easier than 2x. It's easier to grow your business 10 times than it is doing double the amount of work. And if you're trying to raise capital, it's Pitch Anything.
Great books right there. I love those. 2 of those are the Dan Sullivan books. They're really great reads. Excellent. Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
I know what I'm going to be doing a week before that day comes. So scheduling far in advance so you don't wake up knowing, what am I going to do to work on my business today?
Give me your number 1 insight for investing in mobile home parks.
That's a good question. I'm going to live by the thing I've said probably 5 times, finding the right partners.
Love a great one.
Years ahead of me.
All right. And you are in Utah. So out there, a little, not too close, but maybe 45 minutes away from Park City. Give me your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
Cheesecake Factory because of the dessert.
That's the cheesecake. There you go. But Jill, great stuff. Appreciate you sharing a little bit about your background, coming from door-to-door sales, learning to knock on those doors, taking those no's, and really developing that grit that you need to be successful, asking questions of, the number one salesperson and taking those insights for yourself to actually become the number one rep at your firm, transitioning into real estate once you kind of got bought out, and then taking that same mindset to work with Sonos Capital, developing those relationships, and now being in a position where you are driving investor relations and raising capital for these deals. I appreciate you sharing your guys' approach to mobile home park investing, creating value add opportunities, and really asking the right questions as an investor. It's one thing we always have to pay attention to is recognizing what's going on, figure out where the value add is, but also asking about the potential risk of any investment opportunity. Again, if folks want to learn more about you or reach out, they can go to sonoscapital.com or they can email you at jill@sonoscapital.com. Jill, thanks again for being a great guest and coming on Multifamily Insights. We look forward to staying in touch with you, and I hope you have a great day.